You are here. You are here on the map right now. Hi. Thank you for visiting my channel. If you're new here, my name is Miriam. Oh, I am an oracle, spiritual advisor, a numerologist, prophet, whatever. For some reason, you're seeing my face, and parts of it, you're seeing this amount of my face. That's about like 7/8 of my face. Dude, that's like an eighth of my face. No, that's like, I'll say 2/3 of my face. You do the math. Anyway, hi. If you're seeing whatever amount of my face or you're hearing my voice, it's because you're supposed to be hearing like specific words out of my mouth, from your guides, from your angels, from your numbers, from whatever. Numbers will come up in this video, though it might be significant numbers for you. If it makes sense to you, awesome, great. Well, one is always saying that. And if it doesn't, cool. That means that, maybe you're just supposed to see me because you're supposed to see how easy this is supposed to be, because you too have words to share. And you too are an oracle and a prophet and whatever all these freaking titles are that people need to hear, because you're meant to spread truth and knowledge. Truth is another word for God. And I know someone very specifically, a good friend of mine, who is like in the dominion of truth and knowledge. And I tend to find a lot of those people tend to come around me. There's a lot of like justice energy. There's a lot of balance energy. There's a lot of anywho, I woke up at 5:50 today, 5:50 something, and I went and used the restroom, made a little video for the Patreon. I didn't even go back and rewatch it because I know for a fact that it's just a mumbling mess in a dark room. But whatever. There is this brokenness that you have attached your identity to. This victimhood, this martyrship, this martyrship. You're a ship of martyrs. Because so much stuff has happened to you. And you've learned a lot of lessons, and so it's almost like it feels like, am I the only one who has to deal with this all the time? And sometimes it really does feel like you're the only one, especially like in your immediate. Like, it's hard for people to like understand where you're coming from. I like to think of it as this village, like every person has a role in the village. So even if we're all hunting and gathering, or gathering and walking around and gathering, we still have roles. Like I'm gathering these things that are over here. I'm just gathering this area. Even if we're gathering all the same stuff or different things, we're still gathering. This is my area to gather. And we all will do it in our different ways based off our bodies. Some people like to squat and gather. Some people like to walk and bend over and gather. Some people like to make little gadgets to gather. And it's all dependent on how people want to play their role. And when it comes to being misunderstood, a lot of times the reason why we are seeing misunderstanding in people and people aren't understanding us is because we don't understand ourselves. We are misunderstood by ourselves, or by our eyes, by our egos, by our things, the devils, the things that are holding us back, the things that are telling us the what ifs, the you don't belong here's, the you don't look as pretty as whenever you were this age, or whenever you were this weight, or whenever whatever. But even whenever you were at that age and that weight, you still didn't love yourself. So what was the excuse then? the reason is because you still feel broken. You help other people heal. You help other people through their problems, all while searching for somebody who can help you with yours. Somebody who can understand yours. And honestly, all those years of listening to people talking about their traumas and the worst things that ever happened to them, you hear their stuff and you are still empathetic and you understand that that's the hardest thing that they've ever been through. And then you're like, that's how they're reacting to that. How should I be reacting to my stuff? Because some people are really losing it over things that we have deemed to be less suffering. Yet that is that person's most suffering. Because they haven't been acclimated to so much suffering. Like, quite honestly, the amount of stuff, the reaction that they're having is an appropriate reaction. And we may deem it as small trauma, but that is their biggest trauma. And the amount of trauma that you have experienced in your life was excessive. Okay? That's what I'll say. To say the least, it was excessive. It was excessive. And so there's a lot of esoteric stuff that I'm not really going to get into when it comes to like the suffering and all those things. But also there are certain thresholds for each person, like even thresholds for pain, thresholds for suffering, learning, for love, for comprehension, for knowing. There are thresholds. We have limits. Each person does. Like there's like that one saying where people are like, "My 10% is their 100%." Okay, so then why are you only giving 10% just because it's their 100%? You're over there looking in their bowl. They have a tiny bowl. And you're over here being like, yeah, I can hold way more soup than them, but I'm only going to hold the same amount of soup that they are because, that just makes sense. No, fill up your bowl. That's the whole reason. You have a big bowl for a reason. They have a little bowl for a reason. Like, quit looking at the bowls. There's a thing about that. Only to make sure that they have enough to eat. And when you got a big old bowl and you see all these people got these tiny bowls, you can give little tiny spoonfuls, but not too much because you still got to eat too. But it's almost like because you've seen that other people's 10%, 100% is your 10%, you only give the 10% because that makes you at least normal or like them. You're doing what's expected of you. Because also in the past, if you gave too much, they were like, you are doing too much. Especially whenever you're young. Because when you're young, it's like, hey, stop doing things because I can't control you. There's other people around. Stop. I'm trying to control you. Stop. Stop doing the thing. Quit trying to be free. I'm not allowed to be free. You're not allowed to be free. Stop. And especially whenever they feel like that energy is so much more. There's so much that you can give. There's so much that you can do. And so even adults who are giving their 100% and it's your 1% as a child, there are certain thresholds that you can maintain for some reason. And that's really just not even for some reason. It's like how I like to see it is like water droplets, accumulation of water droplets or condensation. And when there's enough condensation, eventually all those tiny, tiny, tiny waters become like little drops. And then those drops can be, if 3 drops are together, those 3 drops can be 1 drop. And then boop, 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 boop. And I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody, but and that happens with each soul, with each passing of life or experience that life experiences. And so, yes, we could talk about past lives, like, oh, yeah, you were a king, but I'm talking about even in this specific life. In this specific life, you have past lives. You lived many lives in this life. You've been many people in this life. You've let go of versions of yourself many times. You have lived and died, sometimes actually literally, but you have lived and died in a lot of ways. And so new stories have started, new seasons have begun, new characters have been introduced into your story. And each time your threshold is growing. It's a level up. Some people never choose to level up. Some people are forced to level up. Either way, the leveling up is possible. Either way, the options of the skill points that you want to put into your character as you get older and move through life and gain experiences is up to you. And sometimes after a while, you've been learning something for so long and you're like, you know what? I just want to unlearn all that and just put all those points into something else. And you can. Sometimes at a little bit of a cost, but you can do it. It's just about allowing yourself to level up. And sometimes, and I'm getting into video game stuff, but like whenever I play games, a lot of times I don't really listen to the tutorial. I just jump in and get in there. And then I'll be playing for a little while. And then other people will come and see the game, people who have played the game, usually like my partner or our friends or something, and they're like, you never used that special skill that's been there this whole time. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, if you click it on both the sticks and all of a sudden the world slows down. It's like Deadeye on Red Dead Redemption or something. And there's other things too. It's like, oh, you never used that special boost power? Oh, you've never used that special this? I'm like, no. I've just been playing the game. I've been walking my character around. This is how I go pew pew on the gun. This is how I go vroom vroom in the car, or whatever. Or on the ship. This is how I put the stuff down. This is how I collect things. No, I haven't used my special gifts. Because I didn't know that they were there. But now here I know that they're there. And guess what? I probably still won't use it because I didn't learn how to play the game that way. But if I decided to teach myself to do it, I might have an easier time trying to kill those bosses as opposed to grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding and grinding to kill those bosses, because that's what I do. It turns out this whole time I've been going through this thing, playing these games and leveling or not leveling up. I've been gaining experience and I just have a huge amount of experience points. Now I go and see the experience points that have been sitting there accumulating over the many levels that I've gotten because I didn't know I could put them in places. Now you know that there's this lump sum of experience points that you can put. Gosh, my mouth is all wet all of a sudden. I usually have really dry mouth. But you could have this accumulation of these points that you can now put into specific areas. So you're like, okay, you know what? I want to be able to ride a horse better. So I'm going to put that in my horse riding stuff. You know what? I want to be able to paint better. I want to put that in my paint stuff. And it's really just putting the things that you've learned from other experiences to apply to things that seem like they're not quite connected. Sometimes it's clear that things are connected, but sometimes things are connected through lines and dots that the experience allows you to see those connections. So it's almost like going back to the things you haven't been at for a while, or going back to the things that that used to be difficult for you. So now you've leveled up and now you're going to go fight that boss you've been having trouble with, and all of a sudden it's easier. And that goes from comprehending and a lot. And you ask, how am I supposed to level up and put my points where they're supposed to go? And you're asking me too many questions. You're asking me too many questions. I don't know everything. You know way more about yourself than I do, okay? I am a stranger on the internet. Even if we're talking and commenting and all that stuff, and even if I'm in front of you and we've known each other for years, I'm still not you. I'm still not you. Did you know that we're not each other? And I can help guide you. And the reason why I can help guide in some ways is because these are the things that I've done for myself. And even then, there's still plenty I have not done for myself. There's still stuff that I am speaking out of knowledge and not comprehension. There are things that sometimes are coming out of my mouth that are literally probably just word vomit and mirroring from all the esoteric things that I've had. But for you, you're meant to hear it now. and comprehend it now and apply it to yourself now. If I were to go back to watch my own videos even, I might learn something from myself because I'm off babbling and rambling, bambling, bam blam, okay? I'm over here Black Bettying all the time, and you could too. You could Black Betty all you want. You are fixed. You weren't really broken. Like, I'm sorry to say this. Look, I'm sorry to say this because you've been through so much in your life. But if you were broken, you really wouldn't be here. You wouldn't be seeing my face. You wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't be getting any of this stuff. When something is broken, that means it doesn't work anymore. That means it's no longer functioning. Now, society has said that function are certain things. If we're not industrializing, if we're not being productive, then all of a sudden we are not working. Work is a very broad term. In physics, it's quite literally, I think it's just like in action. It's just like work. Boom. Here, every single, you know how much work I'm doing right now? She's working it. You know how much work that is? That's a lot of work. Even blinking is work. Everything, every action, each mouth movement takes energy, takes electrical work. It takes work. You are working. Even if you're lying in bed, even if you haven't showered in 12 months, even if you haven't literally worked, you are actively working. Being broken means you don't work. So essentially being broken means you're dead. Are you dead? Are you dead? Look, even if you feel like it, even if you kind of wish you were, even if it's like, it'd just be better if I slept right now, you're still working. You're still doing things. You have not qualified for the term broken. You don't qualify. And guess what? Even when people are dead, that doesn't mean they're broken. Maybe their body's a little bit broken. Maybe, look, the body's just a little broken right now. But when you believe what I believe, the soul is infinite and forever. And with each death, there is an accumulation, Highlander style. And we're all just becoming more powerful. That's why more births happen, too, so we can just spread out the power. Because if there's not enough people, everybody's a little too powerful. 1818 as I say that. Oh, Lordy. You may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not the only one. I hope someday you will join us, and the world will live as one. Can you imagine? Imagine all the things and stuff. Imagine all around. Imagine imagination. Imagine off the ground. Could you? Oh, Lord. Okay, I'm up. I'm moving. I have my energy. I slept well. That's why I woke up early. And then I was like, let me just kind of like. And whenever I try and go back to sleep, often it's just more me like in a meditation state, like preparing for the day or whatever. But anywho, I have some things to do today, and I'm gonna do them. Much love to you all. In the meantime, lovies, keep a lookout for the numbers and stay synchronized.